Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are going to be continuing with our series of Shirim, the inner world of redemption. And what we're going to be talking about is going to be the sugya, which is really a sugya that demands or deserves an entire series of its own, 10 Shirim, if not more. But it's going to be the sugya of the Levyasan. The sugya of the Levyasan, the great sea creature that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has created in order to find pleasure from within the existence of that sea creature. Chazal tell us that throughout the hours of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's day, Kavyachol, a significant portion, one of the fourths of that day, the 3-hour fourths that compose the 12-hour day of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the third fourth is occupied with playing with the Levyasan, a sha'ashua and a schoik with the Levyasan. Gemara in Bava Basra tells us that not only is there one Levyasan that's created, but rather everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has created, he created an element of pairs of above and below, masculine and feminine, Chachma and Bina. Everything is composed of two opposite halves that give birth to a whole that is greater than the sum total of its parts. And therefore there's two forms. There's a masculine Levyasan and a feminine Levyasan. The notion of the Nachash Bereach, the elongated straight snake of the sea, as well as the Nachash Aklason, the circulating snake of the sea, the crooked snake of the sea, the Nachash Bereach, the elongated straight snake. That Levyasan is the element of the Zachar, and the circling snake is the element of the Nekeva, just as HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in two stages of Igulim and Yoshar, circularity and straightness, universalism and particularism. Everything is good no matter what on the level of Igulim, and things are good only when they appear to be good in a revealed way on the level of Yoshar. The secret of the Tzimtzum, which is a circular space that is devoid of the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Kav that descends down back into that circular space. These two elements, the straight and the crooked, the direct and the circumventing process of experience, represents the zivug, the unification of the Levyasan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals to Chachmeinu Zechron Lebracha, he reveals in Shas, that the power of the Levyasan Zachar and the Levyasan Nekeva, the power of the Nachash Bereach and the Nachash Aklason, is so strong that if there was an actual yichud between the two of them, then the world would not be able to tolerate the odor, the scent that emerged from that yichud, the scent of Gan Eden that emerges from that yichud, the profound revelation of yichud, because the world would be forced to admit to the ultimate light and connectivity that exists at the heart of all things, and we would lose the ability to continue to pretend in the framework of Bechira. If the Giloy of the Levyasan, Zachar, and the cave of the Yichud between the circular Levyasan and the straight Levyasan were to take place, so then it would be like HaKadosh Baruch Hu being Megala, the Or HaOros, the Keser Elyon Alav Nikra, the secret of Shahanun, which would be such a revelation that in accordance to our previous grasp, all concealment would be revealed fundamentally to be part and parcel of a unity, and we'll be forced to move up to the next shlav of existence where we come into a new level of concealment that is only considered concealment in relationship to that which exists above it. But in relationship to where we're coming from, it reveals an element of profound revelation. And so because it wasn't time for that yichud of the Levyasan masculine and Levyasan feminine, the circle and the line, to unify together properly, so Chazal tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hid the feminine one away, destroyed nearly the feminine one, limited the masculine one, and prevents that zivug, prevents that unification from taking place, the unification between the two elements of the Levyasan. And we're told in Chazal that La'asad Lavo, there's going to be an element of a Suda of the Levyasan. There's a feast of the Levyasan. And the Leshem Shul V'Chaloma, who as the Peravi'i to the Vilna Gaon, Peravi'i to Rav Yitzchak Isaac Chaver of Menachem and Lishklav, and the Gra himself, and in a certain way the Leshem has a direct relationship in ways that other Talmidim don't, because he didn't even leave at the same time as the Vilna Gaon, and he was still a Talmid, similar to the Kamarna and the Baal Shem Tov. And the Heilige Leshem, in particular in the end of Deya Beis, and scattered around the rest of his farm as well, he looks at this sugya. The Leshem talks about this sugya of the Suda of Levyasan and what it might mean. And prior to entering into any consideration as to what it might mean on a spiritual level, what the Leshem paskins, la halacha, is that this experience of the Suda of Levyasan, and the Mitler Rebbe and all of the tzaddikim of Chabad and Talmidei Baal Shem Tov also speak on the sugya, but not as much in the particularity as the students of the Gra do. And Avada, the Levyasan is going to be discussed in different ways because there's always two elements of the Levyasan. There's the Levyasan that's shaykh to the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, which is the feminine Levyasan, which doesn't get spoken much because it's concealed into the arrival of Mashiach Tzidkenu. And by the Gra, there's the element of the masculine Levyasan, the Nachash Bereach, which, because it's only concealed but not destroyed, it's still accessible in a certain way. That hidden light is still accessible, as we're going to see. But nevertheless, Leshem Sheba V'Chaloma, when talking about this sugya of the Levyasan, he makes sure to inform us that we're talking about something real. We're not talking about some ethereal concept that is removed and abstracted from actual lived experience, God forbid, but rather the pshat always stands, and we must understand the nature of this experience of the Suda of Levyasan as something that is actually taking place in accordance with our bodies and our minds' grasp, meaning to say that it is not something that is untethered from experience, but rather something that is deeply connected to experience. And if it's connected to experience, then memela, there's a cloud that anything that's going to be experienced in the future can be tasted in the present. And if the Leshem is paskening for us that the Suda of the Levyasan in the future, including the Shor Habar and the Ziv Shaddai, those three courses of the meal, there's going to be the meal where all of the Shiva Roim or all of the Tzaddikim are going to be. And we're going to start off, and I'm not sure what the order is in accordance with the different shitos of the tzaddikim, but we'll start off with the fish, which is going to be the Levyasan. Then we'll go to the poultry, which is the Ziv Shaddai. And then we go to the basar of the Suda, which is the Shor Habar. And then we come to the place of the Yayin HaMeshumar Ba'anav of Misheshis Mebereshis, which David Malka Mashiach comes to make the bracha on that coast. No other tzaddik had the ability to say, I can make a bracha on that coast of the Yayin, until David Malka Mashiach arrives and he says, Ani Yevarech V'li Na'el Yevarech. I'm going to bench, and I'm the one who should bench, because only David Malka Mashiach, the light of Malchus, who knows nothing belongs to it, and nothing of its own is present. All it is the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that Bittul of Malchus, David Malka Mashiach has the Ani, the Kedusha, the Melech HaMashiach, the Koach of the Yeshus, the Kedusha, the Mata Elohim, the power of engaging with the self and impressing the self upon reality, rather than just the complete opposite gesture of self-annihilation and Bittul. But the tzaddik's capacity to present himself, kavyachol, as an ani de kedusha, because the entire essence of a tzaddik is bittul b'tachlus habittul. So how could there be an element of an ani? But as we've spoken about so often, the ani is always driving at a higher level of ayin. But the tzaddikim amitim know how to utilize the ani de kedusha, which is reflective of the secret of ani Hashem Elokeichem, which is the mata'oz, which Rabbeinu tells us in Torah Chav, can only be used in order to awaken the goodness within Klal Yisrael. This is going to be the secret of the zemer of Mashiach Tzidkenu, to draw down that light, like David Melech, who knows how to make a bracha on that coast. Ani Yevarech V'li No Yevarech. Kos Yeshuos Esa. Yeshuos are the Gevuros that are nimtak b'shayrashim, as the Hakdama to the Tikkun Zohar said, to the Zohar Kadosh tells us, that the Chamesh fingers, the five Gevuros that hold the Kos Shel Bracha, are eventually going to be transformed into the Chamesh Yeshuos, which are going to be the place of the Hamtakas Adinim b'shayrashim, where the bitterness of the wine is going to be sweetened by water to reveal the Tachlis of all things, which is Chay Katayv Lahetiv. And David HaMelech understands this in the secret of Chazdei David HaNe'emanim. Only through the emunah of David Malka Mashiach, when he had absolutely nothing, it was Dal Va'ani Ani, the Dalid that leads to the Vav, that leads to another stage of Dalus, the Dalus drawing down from above through the Vav HaChibor down into the impoverishment of self. That secret of David Malka Mashiach, only a bittul like that, and Melech Ana Ve'emes, and Ish Ana Ve'emes is capable of saying, I'm going to make that bracha, and I'm deserving to make that bracha. But at that meal, there's going to be the three stages of experience. There's going to be the experience of the Levyasan, the Ziv Shaddai, and the Basar, the Shor Habar. Now, in truth, it's going to be an ascending order. There's going to be these three expressions of experience. Now, the Leshem, when he says that this is going to be experienced and it will be an actual Suda, as we see from Rabbi Nachman, Maisa Mebitachon, and the Suda was Gevena Suda, the Suda was Gevena Suda, it was Mamish a Suda, the Suda was Mamish a Suda. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a sensual experience to the degree that we understand taste and processing and eating and et cetera, et cetera. The Leshem has a profound, lengthy discussion, Kedarcha B'Kodesh, that deviates externally but always remains connected fundamentally to the innermost point of the Sugya. When the Leshem ends a Sugya with saying, Al Kol Panim, nevertheless, in the end, he's bringing everything back into that tiny dot, which rests at the heart of the base, which is the Torah of Aleph, the fact that every piece of the Torah of the Tzaddikim is just saying one thing and one thing alone. Each tzaddik gives a different vibrancy and colorization to the reality of Einoid Milvado and Chaykatov Lahetiv. But when the Leshem brings it back and he rounds it back into its internal piece, what he's saying is, I'll call upon him. Nevertheless, the Leshem is saying everything in the end of the day has to bring to a place of Giloi Ha'achdus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's unity is being revealed. And that eating process and that digestive process and that experience is going to be something that we have a relationship to, something that we can theorize from a perspective of the phenomenon of being a human being, in the orientation of eating man, of processing information and allowing that information to be revitalizing, to eat the information, to eat the Torah, to allow the food itself to transform into Torah and to the Torah to transform into food, to see the letters of the Torah everywhere and to eat the letters of the Torah, and the secret of the Torah of Atika Stima, where the Torah actually has an impact on the zichuch of my experience. So it might not be a Suda in the lens of I'm eating something actual, but it's certainly going to be a Suda of Hasaga Beruchnius that is still shaykh to the body, that is still shaykh to being an individual prior to redemption. And the Leshem Shema V'Chaloma really is the architect, not the architect, God forbid, but the expression of the architecture of those stages in reality of what happens when the sixth Elef goes into the seventh Elef, when we experience Bina and then Olam Haba and Vias HaMashiach and into all of the Elef HaTishi'i, the Elef HaAsiri, and all of the Aliyos Ein Kates. It's the Leshem Sheba V'Chaloma who charts that territory for us, as is expressed in this remarkable two-set sefer from Rav Pachima Shlita, which is Toros Ha'alios de La'asid, the charting of the eventual ascension of worlds and levels of experience that will take place in the future. The Leshem drew all of this down and fed it to us as clear as day in the writings of the Leshem Shul V'Chalomu. He was Moser Nefesh, he was the pen of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but he reveals that light of the Levyason and that light of all of the architecture of those worlds in a very real way. So the Leshem is explaining to us that this nature of experience of the Suda of Levyason is not going to be something that is purely sensual, but it's not going to be something that is purely abstract from the body. It's not going to be purely intellectual. It's going to be an in-between place. It's going to be a reorientation and a re-looking at the experience itself through the lens of a redemptive element, which brings about the schoik of the Suda of Levyason. So because the Leshem describes this Suda as being something that we actually have accessibility to, then it behooves us to try and understand, like everything else we're talking about in the lens of Geula, of how to taste it prior to its arrival. Because through tasting it prior to its arrival, we awaken its actual arrival in a quicker way in the secret of Be'ita Achishana, may it be soon, may it be now, take it from Yad. Now, just prior to going into the Levyasan, each and every part of this Suda, like we said, is going to be fundamental. It's going to be of utter significance. And so there's going to be, if there's three parts, there's three expressions of what the Suda is going to be. There's going to be the Shor Habar. There's going to be that giant ox that is spoken about in Tanakh. There's going to be the Ziv Shaddai that is spoken about as well. And in Agaditas, we see it as a giant chicken of sorts. And there's going to be the Levyasan, which is the sea creature. Now, when we look at it, what it really represents is three abstract categories of sea, land, and air. Sea being the Levyasan, the water that composes the world. The land is the Shor Habar. And the Ziv Shaddai, this poultry, this element of a bird, has the ability to fly. So now we see that the Suda, instead of looking at it as three abstract notions, now we look at it with a proper understanding of what exactly each one of them is going to represent. They represent modes of orientation of being a neshama in a guf, and how I grasp reality and how I look at reality. And so the Leshem Shua V'Chaloma, and other tzaddikim say this as well, but nobody is clear as my understanding in the Leshem, that these three forms represent the three gradations in which we encounter spirituality. There's going to be the Shor Habar, meat, the notion that is far more susceptible to the body and to the impurities of the body and to Tumma and Tara and to Kasher and Puzzle, and so many psulim and so many trephos when it comes to the nature of basar, that's the lowest element. That's the land itself. The land itself represents the situatedness, the experience in this world of being a body, being a neshama in a body. And the Suda of the Shor Habar is going to be the way that we reorient ourselves towards what it meant to be a body in this world, and a reorientation in the present moment of what it means to be a body in this world. Then we come to poultry. Poultry is in between. It's the air. It's shaykh to above the ground, and it's shaykh to on the ground. And there we're going to see less trephos. We're going to see less of a susceptibility to impurity, but nevertheless, it's going to be betwixt and between. It's not going to be so intensely rooted in the earth, but it's going to be something that is susceptible to the earth. That's going to be the realm of imagination. That's going to be the in-between realm between the body and the soul. Then we have Levyason, which is beneath the sea, which is in the secret of concealment, in the Yam HaChachma, in the wisdom and the waters, the Meimei Ein Sof, that place that is referred to as the Hastara, that place of Hastara de Kedusha, that place of the hiddenness and the hidden reality, and the ultimate truth, and where we drink the water of the knowledge that what we see is not what we get, and there is perpetually infinite expressions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light that is emanating from every aspect of existence, in spite of the fact that on the most externalized level in the Dir B'Tachtonim, it appears to be the opposite: concealment, darkness, fearful, and all of the different synonyms that a person can use to describe this worldly experience. That's the Yam. That's the Yam. That's the secret of the Levyasan, the Rav Himnuna Saba, the secret of Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the Levyasan. It's the Das of the Levyasan. It's the Hisgalus Ha'amitis of the Yami Abasha, and it's Kriyas Yamsuf, and all of the redemptive qualities. So we see there's a three-stage process. There's the Shor Habar, which is the land orientation of being a body, which is far more susceptible to impurity and psul rather than purity and accessibility. Then we're going to have the next level, which is going to be a little bit more rooted in spirituality, but still very much connected to the ground. That's going to be the poultry. That's going to be the Ziv Shaddai. That's going to the realm of emotions and experience through the heart itself. And then you're going to have the sea creature, the place of the Levyasan, which is hidden in the sea, which is going to be that element of concealment within ourselves. Now we have these three qualities. We have a Naran, we have a Nefesh, Ruach, and a Neshama. The Nefesh is the body. That's the Shor Habar. That's the land. That is what is revealed. All of our experiences through the revelation of the body and the hurts and the aches of the body are going to be revealed in a new light through the Suda of the Shor Habar. Then the emotional quality to ourselves, not only the Nahi or the Nefesh or the body or that which is habituated. Then we go to the next level, which is emotions, which is the heart, which is going to be the vulnerable realm of Murgash, of experience, not the mutve of the Shor Habar, but rather the experience and the emotional valence through which I experience that in-between place of the Ziv Shaddai that can go up and it can go down. That's shaykh to Olam HaYetzira, that's shaykh to Ruach. And that's going to have half and half. Some is going to be kosher, some is going to be usr. Unlike Olam HaAsir, the Shor Habar, which is going to be more susceptibility to impurity and less susceptibility to purity. Then you're going to have the Levyasan, the secret of Olam Habriya, the secret of all of concealment seen through a singular unified lens through the perspective of Bina. That's going to be the sea. That's going to be the concealment of the sea. That's going to be things that are hidden from the 6 days of creation, the ultimate goodness, and the Meimei Ha'or Ein Sof Kavyachol that descend down at every moment, reviving and redeeming experience and existence. That's the secret of the mikvah. So we see the Naran, it corresponds to Bri, Yitzir, and Asiya, to the Muskal, our intellectual experience, to the Murgash, our emotional experience, to the Mutva, the habituated experience. All of this is going to be refined and reflected in the Suda of the Shor Habar, the Ziv Shaddai, and the Levyasan. But we're going to focus on a particular element of the Levyasan. And we're not going to finish today's shir now. This is just going to be part 1 of a shir on Levyasan. It's been a while. I've been preparing for it for many years already, but and I'm not sure if this is even the best attempt at it. But we're, instead of trying to rush everything in on Levyasan, we're going to slow it down and kind of frame what we've gotten to until now, to understand the nature of what the Levyasan is, to understand the nature that there is going to be a Suda where we are going to look and reorient ourselves in accordance to every part of our experiences that we had in Olam Hazeh, the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the Neshama. And in the future, we're going to have a reorientation where we can properly look at what was truly going on. But the secret of what we're trying to kind of squeeze out of these sugyos for the sake of the medicinal quality of it, at least in accordance with my limited, profoundly limited understanding and the need for the medicinal element of it, is that this Suda, because it is something that is shaykh to the body, it is also something that can be tasted in the present moment itself. That just like in the Vitebsker's room, Mashiach had already arrived, so too, there's an element of tasting of the Suda of Levyasan at every moment. And when it comes to tasting the Suda of Levyasan, of experiencing what this Suda is going to be, the capacity of reorienting ourselves and looking at things in a different way, we're going to see the profoundly redemptive and life-changing qualities that come about from the possibility of tasting our world and our days, of partaking from the Suda of the Levyasan. The Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Toldos starts off with Elu Toldos Yitzchak. These are the offspring of Yitzchak. Elu Toldos Haschok. This is the offspring of laughter that is going to emerge in the world at the Suda of the Levyason. Now, the Talmidim of the Gra already revealed that the Giloi of the Levyason is going to be a Giloi of Pnimiyas HaTorah. That which is concealed in the sea is going to be revealed as if it was on dry land. But what is the Nakuda of the Levyason that we're going to try and talk about? So in accordance with the Leshem Shubha V'Chaloma and working with Rabbi Nachman and Bnei Yissaschar and all of the Tzaddikim Amitim, so we're going to see a stira when it comes to our understanding of the Levyasan. On the one hand, Levyasan is going to be our grasp of experience itself. Levyasan is Malchus. Levyasan is Gematria Malchus. Levyasan is this worldly experience itself, when we're going to be able to see the innermost quality revealed in it, the secret of living our lives in the sea with the calmness and the purity of the sea, the hope of a mikvah, that light, that or and that mayim that descend down. But it's also going to represent das. So we're going to see that Levyasan is going to represent the quality of das. The Shor Habar is going to represent the quality of bina. The Ziv Shaddai is going to represent the quality of Chachma. Rather, let me scratch that erech. I want to skip over that part. The Levyasan represents das. Levyasan represents the ability for a person in this world to have attention and intention and connectivity between their consciousness and the external reality of what is taking place. The secret of das. The secret of the connection between above and below. The connection of the Vav, which seeks to bring down that which is above down below, and that which is below up above. When a person finds themselves experiencing life on a day-to-day basis, very often we find ourselves stuck in the mutva or the murgash. We are either in habituation or we are either in a state of emotional excitation. But what is missed more often than not is the secret of attention and intention and the focusing of the mind in the Nakuda Hapnimius of Das, which connects my mind to experience, which is the Nakuda of Chachma within each and everything, that remains concealed to a person. The Nakuda of Das, the Nakuda of connectivity, of being present right here, right now, with an intentionality and an understanding that all that exists is this moment, and the tachlis of this moment is to connect to the tachlis of this moment, and the tachlis is always to be megalik v'ed shemayim, in that Nakuda of Das, which is b'chol derachecha de'ehu, that in all of one's ways, they should always hold on to that place of das, of connectivity, of that singular line of connection in the innermost point of the mind, of Shavisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid, of the Yud K, Vav K, of Das Elyon and Das Tachton, and the secret of Laman Das, Kol HaMei Haaretz Ki Hashem Hu Elokim, that the secret of Das, Ein Oid Milvado. Das is the secret of actually drawing it down, the secrets of everything that we're talking about and reading in the books of the tzaddikim, and actually drawing it down into lived experience. Into lived experience of feeling it, of allowing ourselves to rest assuredly with the comfort of that innermost point of das, which touches upon the secret of ad lo yada, that brings us to the place of knowing that we don't know anything at all. And this is what Rabbeinu refers to as binyan beis hamikdash. The tachlis of the binyan beis hamikdash is das itself. And the tachlis of das is shelo yada. The secret of the Beis Hamikdash is that we don't know how, and we don't know where, and we don't know when, and we don't know in which way, but the Beis Hamikdash is going to emerge, and it's going to be built, and there's going to be a Nakuda of Pnimius Hadas that is in Skala to reveal inherent connection and the life force that is moving through every conscious, wakeful, or non-wakeful thought that a Jewish person experiences in this world, bein biyoidim, bein beloyoidim, conscious or unconscious, that every element of it was connected inherently to the fundamental purpose that rests at the heart of existence from the original thoughts of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire to create the world, ad vias goyal tzedek b'mehera b'yameinu, va'ad b'chlal, that every single element of Jewish experience, every single element of the mind, every single deviation and point of connection, whether it be the straight Levyasan or the crooked Levyasan, the secret is that consciousness, unconsciousness, all of it is connected inherently to the Nakuda of Das Panimi, of das chadarim yimla'u, that with das, with connectivity, with attention, the rooms of my experience are filled. I can have mutva, I can have murgash, I can have my habits, I can have my emotions, but without das, without the connectivity and the knowledge of laman das, kol hamei haaretz ki Hashem hu Elokim, and the man das dor achron, and the secret of das of Moshe Rabbeinu, and drawing down das ha'elyon into Eretz Yisrael mamish. And that secret of Das, which is the only container that is big enough to hold on to the light of Resha de Lois Yada, and the secret of Lo Yada, In that place, we get to experience connectivity, presence, ein oin milvado. That's the Suda of Levyason. The Suda of Levyason is Das, the Hamshacha of Das. And what we're going to speak about in the next year is going to be the nature of Das and why Das is always a split thing. Das is never singular. Das is that point where I come in contact with the fact that there's masculine and feminine, concealment, revelation, chesed and gevura, up and down, and to go from that splitness back up to the innermost nakuda of Das, to connect it all to that single point. And we're going to see how this process of struggling with the splitness or looking at the two-type nature of things in this world, which is very often a result of not knowing what knowledge is all about and thinking that knowledge is meant to be a singular pulsation rather than a dual dance of oppositional connectivity. So then we're always going to be bothered by the Hesach HaDas. We're always going to be bothered by not having our minds with us. But when we learn the secret of Das and we learn the secret of the splitness of Das, of the good and the bad, of the Tov and the Ra, of the Chasadim and the Gevuros of Das, we're going to come to understand the nature of Levyasan a little bit more, to come to understand the nature of information processing more, and what it means to cultivate a mindset of Das. We're also going to see next week why the only place that the Suda of Levyasan can actually be is going to be in the place that Gehenna was, because it's fundamentally going to be a reorientation to the nature of Gehenna. And we're also going to see the nature of salting the Levyasan, the nature of the revelation of laughter that comes about with the Levyasan, the nature of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the light of the Levyasan, the radical secrets of the notion of the Levyasan being the secret latch of retroactivity, where we can look back on our previous experiences even prior to having missed them, and reevaluate from the inside out to be Megal the Nekuda of Beis HaMikdash. It's going to be the schoik between the Levyasan and the Shor Habar, the encounter of the tzaddikim, of Rabbi Nachman and the Shpal Zayda, and we're going to learn through probably 3 shirim on the Levyasan how to be mamshech, in accordance with my humble understanding of the words of the tzaddikim, this light of the Suda of Levyasan into a person's mind, and to allow us to really uncover what the Leshem Shabbat V'Chaloma describes is the neurological shape of Levyasan. Levyasan is that point of interface where the ideas become very real, because these are mechanisms, technologies, shapes of the mind. The splitness of the brain with the corpus callosum that extends downwards, down through the cerebral spinal fluid to irrigate the experience of the body itself. We're going to see the Levyasan is really the buffer zone where we begin to try and cultivate within our minds the real secret of tasting our world in our days, of actually trying to have an akuda of das. And Be'ezras Hashem, so I'm not sure when the next year will be. Hopefully either it will be tomorrow or on Sunday, Be'ezras Hashem, but we'll continue with this for the next couple of shirim, Be'ezras Hashem.